Hey gang, John Bacarella here with your Lake St. Clair Fishing Report, brought to you by Sportsman's Direct. It is Wednesday, November 3rd, doing this one a little bit early this week. Normally do them on Thursdays, but didn't want to wait. So November 3rd, water temperature at Belle Isle was still crazy warm for this time of the year. Actually, it was 54 degrees when I checked this morning, which I think is a record for actually this date right now. So normally first week in November, we're down below that point. We're at least like in the upper 40s or so. But we're going to get there, and we're going to get there in a hurry. And actually, the shoreline temps and the canal temps and the back bays and everything are much colder. And if some of you guys were driving around the lake, I got reports this morning that actually up by like St. John's Marsh this morning, some of those areas actually had a little bit of skim ice on them this morning because it went down to like 28 last night. So yeah, you can actually get skim ice when you got water temperatures in the low 50s, because that surface temp in shallow like that will get cold enough to give you a little skim. So it's going to keep going down. They're predicting that we're going to drop 10 degrees basically over the next 10 days. So that should put us down into the low 40s in like a week and a half or so. And if you looked ahead and looked at the forecast temps that we got coming, we got 20s and low 30s for forecast lows and pretty darn chilly highs. So for you deer hunters, I know that's great. Those are great temperatures for you guys to get out and finish up the archery season, and then going into gun season. Now, as far as the fishing out here, it's been pretty darn, I'm not going to say slow, because the guys that have been fishing are still catching fish, but the weather, especially with all that rain and all the wind that we just went through, really muddied stuff up and made it tough for a lot of the guys out there. At least that was going, into last weekend. But right now, we have got the conditions out there are getting better and better every day. The lake is cleaning up. And we've had some pretty darn favorable winds. Like today was just gorgeous. And I think we're supposed to have light winds the rest of the week from everything I was looking at. And it's supposed to be dry for at least like the next 7 days. So if I believe the forecasts that are out there right now. So that's all great especially for the upcoming weekend. Now, the last report I did, I mentioned that it was time for you guys to get out and start casting for walleyes. And as soon as I said that, I started getting messages from guys going, well, we've been catching walleyes now for 2 weeks, casting from shore, or even actually some of the guys were saying since September. So that short casting for walleyes down here on the lake is going, and it's going well. And part of the reason why it's going so well is because you've got big shad on the shoreline. I know my buddy Greg Verga out there shot a picture of one of these big shad, and you'll see some in our tank if you come in to get perch shiners right now, because those shad are mixed in with the emerald shiners right now out there all over the lake. And for walleyes, those big shad are just like candy for them, and for the muskies too. So remember I was talking about this time of the year, the mouths of like the Clinton River, the spillway are going to start collecting, they're going to start drawing in all those muskies. The Thames River, by the way, does the same thing over there on the Canadian side for you guys going over into Canuckland. But over here on the American side, the Clinton River and the mouth of the spillway will definitely draw those big shad in. And the colder the lake water gets, the more the differential between that, relatively warm water coming out of the Clinton River and the shad are just going to get drawn into that warm water. So for the casters, that just means now's the time, okay? For walleyes, bombers, small swim baits, rapalas, any slow rolling crank that you can get out there. You want that nice little slow body roll, and sometimes your retrieves are going to be almost nothing. I mean, sometimes you're just barely moving that bait, especially as the water temperatures get colder. Another thing to keep in mind for the spillway right now, it was really high, and it's been crazy high and muddy for a couple of weeks now. But now that we're getting into this dry period here, that water's, I was looking at the spillway just today, and actually you couldn't really see any current for like the first time literally in a week. It was almost making waves, but now that current is done, it's stopped, and that water's going to start clearing up in there. And the only reason why I mention that is I know you guys like to fish perch in that spillway area, And that's going to happen. That should happen now as we come down off of that high water and that water clears up. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised, and you're going to find perch in there as soon as that water gets to be a little bit more fishable. Maybe even by this weekend, I would get out there and start trying to find those perch. And I think you're also going to be surprised that you're going to find there's a lot of walleyes in there right now, and not just at the mouth. I think you're going to have walleyes all the way up to the dam up there on the Clinton. And there's just so much bait. Those fish are going to be up there, and that's one of those places that doesn't have to necessarily be a night bite for those walleyes. You can fish them on a slip bobber and a jig and a minnow and catch them in the morning and evening times, even when it's still daylight out, because that water clarity in there is never going to get really clear, so you're going to always cut the light penetration down quite a bit. Canals, it is now really getting into dock season, and I heard that for you guys that fish over there in the library in St. Clair Shores, they did open that up, so guys are getting back in there. I don't have any fishing report from in there yet, but I know guys did start to access that. We're almost ready to allow guys back into the marina behind the store. There's a couple more boats back there, and I know they got to finish up doing the shrink wrapping, but the canals and the marinas have pretty much emptied out of most of the boats right now. So you guys that want to get in there and fish kayaks and stuff, have at it. There's plenty of panfish in there, and now you can fish just about anywhere you want. So that's a go now. It is now dock season. Metro Park haven't had too many reports in there. The panfish, I think those fish kind of moved around on those guys a little bit, but that's going to fire back up in there too now with the water temperatures falling off. Usually when you get that first big hit and the temperatures drop a lot, it kind of slows things down, and once they stable and then start to cool down a little bit more and more consistent, then that bite's going to pick back up in there as well. Jiggers are out there. They're starting to jig up some walleyes. They actually been jigging up walleyes now, but water clarity is going to be the big thing. With all those rains, it's going to take a few more days for it to really clean back up before you get into great, jigging water clarity. You at least want, you don't want crystal clear water, but you want it several feet visibility for that jigging to really get going good. Muskie fishermen, the muskie's still going great out there. Now is really the time for the casters when they come out. I was just looking, Jason Quintano, Fins and Grins Charters, was just posting that he's ready to go into casting mode now, and he always looks forward to this time of the year because you can really get some seriously fat muskies this time of the year, especially when they're gorging themselves on all them big shad and everything. So, and it's the time of the year where you almost can't fish too shallow for these skis. I've seen them in a couple of feet of water, especially at night when we're casting for walleyes. Those fish will come in and they'll literally be in 2 feet of water chasing the bait fish in there, and they'll blow it up just like, blow the bait up in there just like you would see saltwater or striper fish. And it's really, really cool when you see these big fish in really tight chasing that bait around. So muskies, perch. Perch are still going out there, guys. I would start checking tighter and tighter and tighter now, though, especially as this water cleans up, as we come off of that real dirty phase that we had with all that rain and that wind. My experience has been every time we get one of those one of those hard easterly blows like we had with that last front, and it dirties that water up, it seems like those fish use that dirty water to transition and come in tighter and tighter. That doesn't mean there aren't going to be fish still out there in that 12, 14, 16, even 18 foot of water. There'll always be fish out there, but now is the time when you want to start checking in tighter and tighter. Now, also, if you go back and you remember some of the other videos I've done where I talk about looking for those weed beds, if this period of weather that we got coming up, if it stays calm enough and that lake really gets clear, take my advice if you still got your boat in the water and really pay close attention to where the weed beds are now, because that is where they're probably going to be when we freeze up. So any of those weeds that are still holding now after all that rough weather we went through should still be there, hopefully, when we ice back up. So if it does clear up enough, now's the time to really pay close attention to where all those weed beds and all that structure is out there. For you guys that are running around out there still with your boats, please be careful. There are a lot of duck hunters out there, and those rigs that they're in, they're pretty hard to see. And just really pay close attention when you're flying around out there, and give those guys some space because they're trying to enjoy their fall out there as well. For you duck hunters, for you deer hunters out there, good luck. Be safe. Take it easy. Strap yourself in when you're up in those tree stands. And we got ice fishing tackle now really starting to come into the store. Every day we're getting more and more stuff in. So if you're looking for that ice fishing tackle, getting ready for this upcoming season, you're going to want to get in and get it sooner than later this year, because there's going to definitely be a lot of inventory issues with just about everything you can think of, and spring's going to even be worse. So if you're out and about this weekend, we'll see you at the stores, and you have a great one. Get out and enjoy the weather we got coming in this week. Hey, if you like this video content and you want to get updated as soon as the next video is out there, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon, and you'll get notified as soon as the next video is up.